Hello everybody, this is Mr. McKeever here. Today we're going to talk about the rise and fall of Spain and a little bit about the English as well too at the end. There's a lot to unpack here because we're really going to be laying out the political situation of all of Europe during this period. So kind of bear with me. This will probably be a little bit longer of a video, but let's go through all these different pieces. We've been hinting at for a while, and I've been telling you guys for a while, that eventually Charles V is going to abdicate his throne at a pretty young age because he feels like he failed in his mission of protecting the Catholic Church from the rise of Protestants. And when he does that, he's going to split his empire into two pieces. He does this because he believes it's pretty much impossible for a single person to be able to control everything that's going on. And he's actually trying to protect his son a bit from the problems that exist in the Holy Roman Empire. So he's going to split his empire into these two pieces. Spain, the Netherlands, and the New World, he's going to give to his son, Philip II. To his brother, he gives the Holy Roman Empire and Austria. The reason he does this is because he kind of views the Holy Roman Empire in all of really Central Europe for the most part as just being an utter disaster zone. Throughout most of the time that Charles was in charge of it, there were a series of wars, religious conflicts, fighting the Ottoman Turks, and he doesn't really want to put his son through that. Whereas Spain has been calm, peaceful, it's prosperous, it's raking in money from the New World, so why not give his son the better half? So this is where we're really picking up. This split of the empire is going to be pretty significant because Philip is an interesting character. When Charles retires, he bails, he leaves, he's hoping that this is really just going to be an empty or easy walk in the park for Philip. Part of the reason why is that at this point in time, the New World is just as prosperous as humanly possible. We'll talk about it eventually, not right now, but what's going on over there now is the conquering of the Aztecs, the Incas, really the spread of Spanish influence across the entire continent. We're now long past Christopher Columbus. We're really to the point where it's really cool and awesome to be a part of the New World situation. There's also a massive population growth in Spain during this time period, but it's not perfect. There are some small issues that exist in Spain at this point in time. On the outlook, with the rest of Europe looking in at it, Spain is actually in great shape, but there's some long-term issues that are going to rear their heads at some point in Spain. Some of it is to do with what Philip does, and some of it is just stuff no one really understood at this time. This constant influx of gold and silver and wealth for the New World is actually going to create inflation in Spain. Now, people back then didn't know what inflation was. This is really the first time in a modern sense we truly get an understanding of what inflation on a national level looks like. We've never had this problem before. But what effectively happens is that there is so much gold and so much silver in Spain, particularly silver, that the value of it plummets. It's just not worth that much because everyone has so much of it. And this is going to be real problematic for Spain because their money is now worth so little. We will also see the rich getting extraordinarily wealthy during this period, whereas the poor people don't really see any improvement in the quality of life. There's no trickling down of gold to the peasants. Now that they're getting improved wages. In a feudal system, there are no wages. It's all about what you make. So that's unfortunate for them. Eventually, his dad's wars are going to be something that Philip has to pay for physically. I mean, you can't just wage war without paying the bills for it at some point. So that's something Philip's going to have to take care of. And then also just the increased influence of the Turkish Empire in the Mediterranean is something that Philip's going to end up fighting his entire life. These are problems that Philip is really going to have to deal with, and he doesn't have a good grasp as to how to deal with it, especially the monetary issues, the wealth ones, because no one's really understood how this works before. So let's work this out. Philip II is going to be an interesting character. He kind of views himself in the same light of his father. He's a protector of the faith, and he will do a lot to try to improve the actual runnings of the Spanish government, which is great. He creates a great bureaucracy, like the civil service structure that allows the government to do its day-to-day tasks, that will help improve the government of Spain by using lower nobility. So people who are technically still nobles, but not these really wealthy nobles who could be viewed as threats or rivals to Philip. It's actually a pretty clever move. Well done, Philip. And he will also lead an expedition, or at least encourage his half-brother to lead an expedition to fight the Ottoman influence in the Mediterranean. I will actually win a phenomenal victory at the Battle of Lepanto. His half-brother, Don John of Austria, is going to lead this naval fleet. It is the largest naval battle of the entire century, and he destroys the Ottoman fleet, which people did not expect to have happen. But the amount of wealth that the Spanish are getting are allowing them to create these massive galleons that are huge and just tear apart the Ottomans. At the end of the day, 30,000 people are dead, the vast majority of those Turkish soldiers. And that is a huge victory for him. And he thinks he is king of the world. He is dominating everything, except not really. Sad face baby. Things in the Netherlands are slowly unraveling, and Philip doesn't realize it until it's way too late. The richest territories in Europe are the Netherlands. We haven't talked about them at all because they haven't played a significant role in any sort of political event to this point. But the Italian city-states are quickly fading as the dominant power, especially with the rise of the Ottoman influence. They no longer have exclusive control over trade in the Mediterranean. So the Netherlands will thrive over this period because they start trading everywhere. All the places, Europe, New World, whatever, boom, we trade. And because of this, they become extraordinarily wealthy. But something is wrong with the Netherlands. They don't like foreign rule. They didn't like Charles, really, but Charles was generally viewed as a well-respected ruler, and people were scared of him. Philip, they don't have that same perspective with. And Philip is going to try to enact his will on the Netherlands, much like his father kind of did. But at this point, the Netherlands aren't really willing to deal with it. They're so wealthy, like, we can stand up to this guy. And then you add into the fact that the Netherlands are almost exclusively Protestant. The vast majority of them are going to adopt Calvinism. They don't want to be led by a foreign Catholic ruler. So Philip is stuck with trying to figure out what to do here. And what he's going to try to do is put in charge of the Netherlands two people that he thought would fix the situation. First is going to be a guy by the name of Cardinal Granville, and another one is Margaret of Parma. So Margaret is actually Philip's half-sister. And Cardinal Granville is supposed to be this really authoritarian cardinal who's going to help convert people back in the Netherlands to Catholicism. Well, crap. What ends up happening is Cardinal Granville, instead of his original goal of potentially reorganizing them into a way that's much more subservient version of the Spanish government, he's going to face resistance by a pretty significant person in the Netherlands, and really pretty significant political figure in all of Europe at this point. A guy by the name of William of Orange. This is, side note, pause, meh. There will be multiple Williams of Oranges in this class. Sorry, it is what it is. Can't fix it. This will be the William of Orange during the Netherlands Revolution. There will be another William of Orange when we talk about the British and the Glorious Reformation. It just is what it is. Okay. Resume. Alright, so William of Orange is not a religious guy. He doesn't really care about Calvinism, doesn't care about Catholicism, whatever. Whatever allows him to better rule his people is what he cares about at that given time. What he cares about right now, though, is ending Spanish dominance in the Netherlands. He is a Dutch person through and through. He doesn't care about faith. It's about being a Dutch politician. And with the help of other Dutch nobility, he gets Granville removed from power. They threaten a massive revolt unless he is forced to leave, and Philip capitulates. He gives up. He forces Granville to go home. So, Philip, still trying to figure out some way to deal with this Protestant influence in the Netherlands, decides to personally guarantee that he is going to enforce the Council of Trent. He is going to make sure all of the reforms, all of the things that are done during the Council of Trent that were there to address issues with the Protestants, issues the Protestants had. He thought that would bring people back, much like it did in the rest of Europe. Well, still not happy. He didn't really anticipate that the vast majority of people who were Calvinists in the Netherlands actually were there for theological reasons. They weren't there because they were upset with the Catholic Church. They actually believed the ideas of John Calvin, the ideas of predestination of the elect, and Philip wasn't prepared for this. So the people of the Netherlands don't follow the ideas of the Council of Trent, and they get real pissed off when he tries to force Catholicism on them. So we have a compromise, right? What happens next? A mass rebellion. Ish. So the people of the Netherlands are supposed to organize this big rebellion. Well, if you learn anything when it comes to warfare, warfare generally isn't good for business, and the Dutch are business people. So the highest nobles in the Netherlands don't want rebellion because it's going to cut into their profits. So Philip sees this as an opportunity. He thinks that a rebellion is going to take place. He knows that the leadership at the top is really hesitant to really jump into fighting. So he issues something called the Council of Troubles, also known as the Council of Blood, which is effectively an army sent to the Netherlands to pacify the situation and any ideas of rebellion and reconvert the population. And, well, crap. This is kind of like an Inquisition on steroids, if you will. In a very short amount of time, this army is going to kill over 10,000 or over 7,000 people, brutally subjugate the Dutch people, institute a tax on anything that comes out of there that's going to be used to justify and pay for this. Lots of torture has taken place. It's ugly. It's brutish. It's ugly. It's not going to solve the situation. The Dutch people are not happy. And William is like, all right, fine. We've put up with your crap long enough. During this whole period, technically, William of Orange is exiled from the Netherlands, but upon hearing what's happening in the Council of Troubles, he's going to come back. He's like, screw this. I'm done with this. Boom. He hires himself an army, a people called the Sea Beggars. They are mercenaries who are extraordinarily good salesmen, or not salesmen, sailors, sorry. And these people will rile up violence in the Netherlands against the Spanish. Kind of think like a mercenary Viking army, if you will. Very good at causing situations, causing issues, as long as they got paid. And this is really going to piss off Philip. His response is called the Spanish Fury, also known as the Pacification of Ghent. His armies will massacre 7,000 citizens in the streets of the Netherlands. And all crap is just hit the fan at this point. The Netherlands are effectively an all-out civil war, or really war of independence against the Spanish. And even the Netherlands themselves are divided in this. The north is very Protestant, very Calvinist. The south, which is a little bit closer to France and a little bit closer to the influence that comes from there, is more Catholic. And they're not really going to be in for this rebellion. And what ends up happening is an agreement. The Netherlands themselves will come under the control, or at least will be under the control of William the Orange, is too much of a target for Philip to overcome. And despite the efforts of even now his brother Don John, he can't beat them. William, unfortunately, will die. He's assassinated in 1584, but it doesn't end the fighting in the Netherlands. This is going to continue on for a solid another 30 plus years. But because of some other situations that take place in Europe, Philip's no longer able to focus his efforts on this. Another country is going to be causing issues for him that he needs to address, and that's going to be a little bit more of a threat to him, and that's going to be the British. So this story isn't ending. Eventually what we're going to see is a split of the Netherlands. Two different pieces, divided upon religion. The armor of the mighty Spanish Empire and Philip II has now officially been wrecked. And now it's time to really cause some issues. All right, so let's go back to the British here. Last time we talked about the British, we talked about how Edward ruled for a short amount of time. When he died, the British Parliament was like, oh crap, we need to find a solution for this. Because they knew the next person in line was going to be the Catholic daughter of Henry, Mary, the daughter of Catherine of Aragon. And they expected that she was going to come back and try to rule the kingdom, reconvert everything back to Catholicism, and Parliament was like, no, we don't want this. So they tried instituting someone completely different, a woman by the name of Jane Grey, as the new Queen of England. And this was going to be their solution. Hey, Mary, don't come back. We have a new queen. You don't have to do anything. Bye-bye. Except Jane Grey will rule for all of 9 days. And then Mary will have her executed. Whoops. That was a poor decision. Mary is going to go down in history as being one of the more violent rulers in English history. The people weren't exactly thrilled with the notion of Jane Grey because she wasn't tied to the Tudor dynasty. It wasn't the normal succession, so they don't really support her when Mary comes to England. And because of that, she's easily executed, and the people are like, all right, fine, it's Mary, no big deal. She's not going to change anything. It's not going to be that big of a change. She's going to honor her dad's tradition. And, well, I think they've vastly underestimated how much she hated her dad and how quickly he tossed her and her mother aside, because he's going to just root out everything that Henry did. And in the content notes for this is a video about the brutality of Mary, who will go down in history as Bloody Mary. She will convert England back to Catholicism in the most violent way possible. Stories have it that there are so many public burnings of Protestants in London that the entire city smelled like burnt flesh. Wow. To add salt in the wound to the English, Mary, being Catholic, is looking for a Catholic husband, and guess what? There's a really eligible bachelor in Spain who's Catholic, who controls a lot of stuff, and Mary goes ahead and marries Philip II of Spain. At this point, the British are terrified the Spanish are going to take England. You just gave England on a silver platter to the Spanish? What the hell? Add more salt into the wound. At this point, you're just chopping off a leg. Why not? She has the head of the English Church, Thomas Cranmer, the guy who created the Book of Common Prayer, has him executed. Because something else he did was officially be the minister who signed off the divorce of his mother, or Mary's mother, Catherine, from Henry. So clearly he had to die. And then hundreds of other people along with it. And go Mary, you are a pretty sick person. Her death, or her reign, is just death everywhere. Flu breaks out in the major cities of England, thousands die. Mass execution of people, hundreds, if not thousands, have died. There are failed wars throughout Europe in Mary's name, also leading the British armies just to get massacred. So when it comes down to it, everyone in England pretty much hates Mary. And what they're looking for is a way out. And there actually is a way out. And the way out comes in the form of Mary's sister, Elizabeth. Throughout this entire period, if you remember, Henry had 2 daughters. A daughter by Catherine of Aragon, Mary, and a daughter by Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth. Well, Mary never had the desire to kill Elizabeth. She couldn't blame Elizabeth for the actions of their father. She was just born and raised Protestant. She did nothing that really garnered the ill will towards Mary. So when Mary comes to the throne, she doesn't kill Elizabeth. She throws her in the Tower of London and just effectively imprisons her throughout her entire reign. Well, probably it was a poor decision, because Mary will never have an heir. She supposedly is pregnant for a period of time, and we think she has a miscarriage, but we don't know. But after 5 years, she dies. And when she dies, there are no more Catholic tutors out there. So the next person in line is Henry's last child, Elizabeth, the Protestant. She becomes the new Queen of England. And boy, Are things different? Elizabeth will go back to the Protestant ideologies of the Anglican Church, reestablish what is going on there, and will provide a level of stability to England that the country has never seen. She is extraordinarily capable as a ruler. She will navigate problems between now 4 different faiths that exist in England at the time. You have the Catholic Church that's still there. It's a minority, but it's still there. We have the Anglican Church, which is now the official faith. We have a Presbyterian Church, which is a Scottish version of Calvinism, and a growing sect of Anglicanism called Puritanism. All 4 of these faiths have different beliefs, different ideologies, and she will find a way to balance all 4 of them in our country for a period of time that is very clear and peaceful for the most part. She will pass a new act of supremacy that establishes herself as the new leader of the church because she's a woman as opposed to a king, and creates a new common prayer, Book of Common Prayer, to kind of modernize the Anglican Church and actually kind of solve, or at least try to resolve, a few of the issues that people like the Puritans had with the Anglican Church. So this is all great. Life as Queen Elizabeth. With Queen Elizabeth, this queen is awesome. She is known as the Virgin Queen. She refuses to get married, despite numerous advances by Philip II, who, if you remember, was married to her sister. And because of this is going to garner a little bit of ill will between the Spanish and the British. There are also other people that will try to destabilize her reign. Mary, Queen of Scots, who's a cousin of this whole situation, is going to try to invade England and overthrow her, try to restore Catholicism. Well, that's not going to work. She is actually tied to the Guise family, but is a cousin to the Tudors. She was married to the King of France, Catherine de' Medici's son, but when the King of France died, she moves back to Scotland, remarries the guy who's in charge of Scotland, the protector of Scotland, and is forced to abdicate the throne to her son James, the eventual successor of Elizabeth, a story to be told later on. Don't get confused by that. And she actually tried to get Elizabeth to support her reclaiming the throne in Scotland. Elizabeth doesn't, because she's Catholic. So what we have now is an issue. Elizabeth will protect Mary from being executed or anything, but always kind of views Mary as a threat. And actually, Mary is actually caught supporting Catholic plans to kill Elizabeth, despite the fact that Elizabeth was protecting her from some people in Scotland that wanted her dead because she was Catholic and not Presbyterian. So Elizabeth has Mary executed. And Europe's unhappy. And particularly one person in Europe is unhappy. Philip. In response to the Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic leader in Europe being executed by Elizabeth, and because Philip is kind of just pissed off that Mary or Elizabeth never married him, he will send an armada, the largest armada the world had ever seen, to attack England in 1588. It is a massive, massive armada. We're talking about every ship that the Spanish could muster. And remember, this is a Spanish fleet that just beat the Turks, and the Turks were much stronger than the English are at this point. So pretty much everyone thinks that the English are about to get rocked, except they don't. A storm wipes out a huge portion of the fleet, and the British overcome the Spanish Armada. But that doesn't stop Philip. Philip will send armada after the English in a just crazed desire to overthrow Elizabeth. But luckily, due to her leading admiral, a guy by the name of Sir Francis Drake, he's never able to do it. Philip will never invade England, and he actually kind of ironically causes the fall of the Spanish Empire. And that pretty much sums up all content for this unit. If you have any more questions or anything, let me know. But that pretty much sums us up, and we're pretty much set to move on to the next topics. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.